Today I talked with Pavel from ZKM ZK House, ZKM House, and we spoke about what they have going on, what ZK means, also the inevitable merge of AI and Web3, the future of what they have going on, his journey, and what kind of got his foot in the door. Hey, what's going on, guys? It's David here from GenZO. We are in Denver, Colorado for ETHDenver. This is the GM podcast. I'm here with Pavel. Pavel, it's a pleasure to meet you, man.
Pleasure to meet you too.
How are you doing?
Doing great. First, I guess yesterday was my first day at ETHDenver, and definitely still ramping up to meet the energy of the of people here. I think it's been a while since last ETHDenver, and people are getting right back into it.
Okay, cool. Is this your first time in Denver in general?
No. I've been to ETHDenver, I think, like for 3 years in a row, and so it's like definitely like not my first rodeo, but every single time there's like unique experiences, but still like same,
For sure.
similar people.
Thoughts about the city?
I think it's very close to home. I grew up in Canada, so kind of like cold and a little bit snowy. So I think like it still reminds me of where I am from, and then I guess like with a little bit more pizzazz, right? More people, more interesting ideas, and I think this is like a really good hub for this like Web3 and anything related to that.
I agree. You know, it's funny. Everybody talks about the elevation and like, you know, oh, you might get real tired going on a walk or run. I went on a run this morning and I could even feel it myself. And it's interesting. You know, Denver is a beautiful place. The air is fantastic, and the weather is so back and forth. My buddy was telling me they had like 2 feet of snow the other day, and now we are 60-degree weather, sunshine, and you and I could definitely get some color out here.
Absolutely. I'm going after a tan.
Very good, cool. So, I mean, you're here for a reason. I want to know about it.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm here specifically for both the ZKM and Metis ecosystem, and essentially playing a role into what that impact would mean for the AI agent space, especially the data validity and integrity of the different types of AI agents that are deployed on multiple different ecosystems.
Okay. And so now, where did you start to get to where you are now in terms of your journey of entering into Web3 and all of this?
Absolutely, yeah. I started actually out in working for a company called CryptoChicks, and I did like presentations, high-level overviews of what Ethereum is, and like how Ethereum can interface with many different aspects. I guess like in that era, that was more of like the DeFi sector, where you have like Aave was called like ETHLand, and there was different backgrounds on like what models worked. So I think like knowing the core and the basics of like how Ethereum functions, but now we have like a very, I wouldn't say big divide, but definitely bigger aspects to where ecosystems are targeting users. We have like movements, which was just targeting the move ecosystem, and then you have like Ethereum, that's the base of everything, and I have layer 2s, and the whole series is evolving into many different sectors, which I think like have their own cultural bases, and definitely we want to form that base as well with Metis, as well with ZKM, in terms of that alignment and differentiator as well.
Okay. I want to touch on that divide you're talking about a little bit. How do you guys as a company, are you able to, because you never want to just not necessarily divide and like leave something out, but not miss out on an opportunity with another, lane. How are you guys as a company able to look at this divide and say, okay, let's go this way with this project and this way with this one? How are you guys able to create this differentiation?
Yeah. I think it all comes down to what the ecosystem prioritizes, right? When you think of like the vision of different structures, right? For example, Metis focuses on the core aspect of decentralization and innovation.
Yeah.
So we started out as the first layer 2 to do off-chain data. And then there was a lot of other layer 2s that followed, like Arbitrum Nova has their own data availability committee. You have layer 2s that are using like Celestia for data availability. And so that's, we pioneered that as the first. And then the other thing that we pioneered was the decentralized sequencer, which no other project has implemented, likely because, the fee revenue is split amongst different types of sequencer providers, but it ensures reliability for the network. So I think like having this play in the both the innovation and decentralization of what we're doing and targeting what the market wants is pretty critical. And I guess with ZKM, how that differentiator looks like is ZK can be applied into many different sectors. In ZKVM is meant to be generalizable. So in that sense, there's projects that are coming in like Goat Network, which is adopting ZKM to make essentially a true layer 2 on Bitcoin. Verify the Bitcoin-based transactions on the layer 2, and then have it settle on Bitcoin directly without any intermediary involvement. So the idea is also like staying true to that verifiable compute, staying true to the decentralization, the reliability, and making sure that we're addressing the needs. Like so in this case, Goat Network is addressing the needs for Bitcoin scalability, while Metis is more of like the Ethereum scalability vision, while still retaining that decentralization. Even though they're doing it in different ways, they're still targeting that, don't trust us, verify and make sure to use that, reliable methods of doing so.
Okay. I got something that, I have to ask, because I know that there's a lot of people that maybe I might show, these interviews to, or they might just come across it anyways. What does ZK mean?
Yeah, so ZK is essentially zero knowledge, and I guess like ZKP is like zero knowledge proofs. So there's I guess a common misconception that ZK is built for privacy. Which in some aspects, like Aztec adopted for privacy. There's other Railgun as well. They adopt it for basically to do DeFi-based operations, but like with shielded tokens essentially. But then ZK can also extend into that verifiable computational piece. So that can extend into what we've seen many solutions adopt is scalability. So we have like ZK EVMs that exist that essentially focus on scaling Ethereum or scaling any type of layer 1 that has maybe like some scalability problems. So Bitcoin as well. That's ZK is used for that. So, but the overall idea is to make sure that the computation that you're doing is not reliant on, let's say, an agreement. How traditionally it is. It's like an agreement, a consensus model, where everyone has to agree on a certain form of computation. Instead, you run the computation and you can verify it. And running that computation, verifying it, means that it happened, and nobody was able to manipulate whatever the end result is. So there's like tons of projects that evolved from that concept. So like ZK-TLS is an example where, or like ZK or TLS Notary, which was able to get basically your identity or credentials, prove it that you, let's say, have a KYC with Coinbase without revealing your name, your identity, but they know that like you have a Coinbase account, you're KYC'd, but that's all that they protocols or whoever adopts that should know. So like in that case, they're using both verifiable computation and privacy built in with these structures. But the idea is like you run it once, you verify it once, and then it's good to go.
Okay, thank you. Now, for other projects that are, also ZK, what separates you guys from others?
There's other ZKVMs that exist. So like there's SP1, there's RISC-0, and they're all focused on the RISC-V based architecture. And I think like a lot of projects are based on that RISC-V instruction set, and that like an instruction set is essentially a way that computers can interface with hardware, essentially. And so in this way, RISC-V has different forms of extensibility, and MIPS is actually a bit more simpler than RISC-V. But the idea is that because it's simpler, there can be more improvements and optimizations that come from the idea of that simplicity.
Yeah.
We staying true with the innovation aspect. I would say one of the only ZKVMs that are focused on the MIPS instruction set. But in terms of what value does that provide, I think like same thing with client diversity in Ethereum, right? You have Geth, you have Nethermind, you have Aragon. So the importance of decentralization is that you are able to use any form of client in order to interface with Ethereum itself. You all just have to apply by a set standard, and I think that providing these options, these tools, these resources for developers to use, and specifically, they're not locked into one implementation of one instruction set. That decoupling allows it to be more decentralized, more secure. And how I envision things is that people will use these multiple proof systems for individual programs. So that way, if there's potentially a bug in one implementation, that the other proof system, that redundancy will play in effect. And I think there's combinations of TEEs, which is like trusted execution environments, which basically is like hardware-based, basically like secure enclaves, which do something similar to ZK. But in this case, like these implementations, I envision a world where multiple different levels of that security are there. So it's just layers. So in case one breaks, you have another one to rely on.
Okay. Now, something we kind of touched on before we jumped on the camera was this inevitable wave of AI and Web3 kind of, merging together, as it already is. But I want to hear your take on this a little bit.
What AI has done, like we've seen like the LLMs, like ChatGPT come out, Claude, and then you have you have DeepSeek, you have all of these different models, Gemini, that essentially all are doing something very, very similar. They take their data, they train it for their AI tool, and then essentially they release it and people can use it.
Yep.
Unfortunately, that the data that they train off of isn't quite transparent, right?
Yeah.
OpenAI isn't as open as the name suggests.
Yeah.
So the idea behind like these already existing AI agents is that they already provide like a useful tool. People use it because it's useful. But then there's that problem of, well, what is the underlying data? And we don't know that.
Yeah.
So the idea with AI plus Web3 is that it decouples the reliance of a single provider into the ability to train off of multiple verified data sets. So what the idea or what the position of it is, we can take the verifiable data that's present already on the blockchain, like for example, taking certain transactions that have been executed. What we're doing for Metis is looking at our governance.
Mm-hmm.
So governance-based operations, and then what the end results of those operations are. So we can see and basically chart out different projects that launched on the Metis ecosystem, and then start essentially giving projects a bit more insight into how to launch and like how to structure your launch with the data that we've collected across many different types of iterations of projects launching. And in that way, the data is the way that we're trying to get to that degree is to make all the data that we're essentially training the AI off of transparent, right? We're saying, here are the data sources, right? The project's uploaded all of this. This is the perspective that they're getting. This is the intention of the use of that data. But of course, that's only one of the mechanics is that we're plugging it into governance because that's the easiest one to see. But the idea is that people will create their own verifiable data sources, which then can be executed in a very transparent way. And the idea with that, like the verifiable computation, also applies with ZKM, right?
Yeah.
Where we can take the execution of the AI agents and make sure that that is the code that is run without the reliance on, let's say, like a trust me essentially scenario where you trust that the AI agent will execute, but how do you know that it actually executed off of that specific data set that it was trained off of? So that's the idea, is we want to make it more transparent. We want to make it more verifiable, as the current systems don't have the capabilities of that.
Absolutely, and we're here for it. We are all about it. We want this, for us and then for you guys as well. And absolutely. Now, is there anything specific that you want to, announce while you have this time?
In terms of the announcement, I think a lot of what we're doing with ETHDenver currently is the Regenesis, right?
Yeah.
Denver is focused around that theme. To bring back the core theme of ETHDenver is that we're here for growth. We're here for the growth of the ecosystem. We're here for the growth of different types of structures, right? Innovation. I think that with DeFi has served a very core and key purpose to bring in like people, and the UX of DeFi has improved dramatically.
Yeah.
But we want to see more applications being used in real world aspects, and with that, I think that AI and Web3 very key, very like integrated within each other. So that itself, we're focused on the growth of the ecosystem through eliminating the barriers of interfacing with different types of Web3 based methods, or how we see that they're used today, right? Ideally, you don't have to sign anything with your wallet. You can approve the action and have the agent give you information that then you can use to essentially be onboarded into the ecosystem much better. So that's what we're focused on right now, and we'll have various different types of speeches and presentations, and we have like a little event also that is focused on bringing in more builders for that vision of enhancing UX within the Web3 ecosystem.
I look forward to it. Cool, man. So where can we follow you guys and yourself as well?
Yeah, absolutely. I guess my Twitter is the easiest way to follow things, although I don't post that often. It's like it's at Pavel_Sinel.
Nice.
But yeah, I guess like if anything, definitely like just the ETHDenver schedule would be the easiest way. I think all the speeches will be recorded, so I think that will give a little bit more imagery to what we're trying to get from our Regenesis.
Good, man. Good. Well, it was a pleasure meeting you, and thank you so much for explaining and your time.
Thank you.
Brought to you by Hedera and Foresight Ventures.
Hey, what's up?
But it's not something Gen Z is afraid of.
If you want to survive, you got to build a hive.
No, we do not understand.
Ladies and gentlemen.
We're back at the Gen Z ZK House.
Oswald, thanks so much for joining us today.